Hey folks, my name is Mark Atobri, and in this video I'm going to show you why diets really fail. But before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to our channel and ring the bell for further updates. So firstly, why do diets really fail? Well, hell, obviously there are a lot of diets that people like to make fun of, whether it be clean eating, paleo, Atkins, hell, whatever. I've been labeled a clean eater many times because I like eating good, wholesome foods. But really, why do diets really fail? Well, I think large in part, it's the psychology that goes behind the diet, not the actual diet itself. Because if we look at anything, look at evidence for anything, any diet can really work. I mean, whether you are calorie counting, counting macros, or eating clean and eating wholesome natural foods and restricting your options, those diets can work because people have gotten results on those. So what is behind this? Why do some people succeed where others actually fail on the same thing? And when the roles are switched and people try other diets, that's when they succeed. What is it? It's the psychology behind it. So behind me on this board, I've got what I call, from my friend Dwayne Alley, I've got the pyramid of change. And I'm just gonna introduce the pyramid of change first off. So at the top of the pyramid, you have your identity, then you have your beliefs and values, then your skills and skill sets, then your behaviors and environment. So to lay out this pyramid, what you should know is that change will always trickle down. That means that your identity of who you are in this world and how you see yourself will influence your environment. It will certainly influence your behaviors, it will certainly influence your skills and skill sets, and it's certainly going to influence your beliefs and values. So say, for example, if you identify yourself as a healthy person, if you say, I'm a healthy person who eats healthy foods that build and nourish my body, a belief or value that you might have would be on training, on exercising. Whereas if you identify yourself as lazy, you might say, oh, well, that gym stuff is just for those buff guys and those Instagram models. When it stems from your identity of who you are in this world. So first things first, let's look at who you are. How you relate to yourself is very, very important. So what beliefs do you have about yourself? What do you believe to be true? Because a belief really is nothing more than something that you have chosen to believe it's true, whether that's Christianity or any religion for that fact, or any idea or politician or whatever it may be. That's an idea that you have chosen to be true. And beliefs really, if you look at it, I like to relate beliefs to a tabletop. So when you look at a table, you have a tabletop, that's your beliefs. Now what people often do is they look for evidence of those beliefs. What evidence in their life can they support to that belief? And obviously the more evidence you have, the more legs you have, the more sturdier that table becomes, the more ingrained that belief becomes. So for example, if you identify yourself as a fat person or unhealthy or just not able to get results, you're gonna look for evidence to support that identity, and that ultimately is going to become belief and it's going to become an ingrained pattern. And that also moves into the skills and skill sets. And you say, how? If you fundamentally believe that it's not going to work for you, well, how hard are you going to try and get the right information? How well are you going to try and implement that information? The answer is not very, because you fundamentally believe it's not going to work for you, and there's evidence in your life to support that. So what do? Well, you got to kick down those beliefs. You've got to kick down those legs. You've got to break down the evidence that you have and create new evidence that you can do it. And part of it is understanding the psychology of change and why diets really fail. So if we break it down even further, if you look at this aspect here, the identity and beliefs and values portion of this pyramid is the B portion of the pyramid. So I'm going to introduce another philosophy, and that's be do have. This is the B portion of, I suppose, getting results. Be do have formula for success. You may have seen this on YouTube or on past videos that I've done, but the be do have formula for success. This is the B portion. This here is the do portion of what you're actually going to do. And finally, your environment is the have. And that ultimately is your results. So let me break that down even further, because I know that I've just laid a whole bunch of new kind of ideas on you at once. So as I said at the start of this video, change will always flow down, but only sometimes flows up. That means that if we take environment, for example, very seldomly do people get out of the prison system and become fully engaged humans inside a quote-unquote normal society. No, what usually happens is people go into a prison, and their identity of being a criminal is reinforced. Now, this isn't a moral judgment of do we need the prison system and all this kind of stuff. It's just to say that changing someone's environment solely doesn't always or necessarily lead to an identity change. Now, if we take for the example of Nelson Mandela went into a prison, he came out a world leader. He had an identity change. he is a very rare exception. Most people have that identity reinforced. And again, this isn't a pro or con against the prison system, it just is. So from our environment, we have our behaviors, what behaviors and skills, and ultimately our skills and skill sets influence our behaviors. So for example, if you're wanting to get six-pack abs and you know what behaviors to do, well, those behaviors are ultimately going to be influenced by the skills and skill sets that you have, because ultimately the skills and skill sets that you have may not be conducive to actually getting those results. So yes, there are a portion of people who they just simply don't get the right advice. So it's kind of two camps. There are people who are getting the right advice and they're still failing because of their identity and beliefs and values, and I find this a heck of a lot more common. But yes, there is a heap of people who are given the right advice, who have all the knowledge, who do all the right things, but they can't implement because of the do aspect. So their skills are there, but they're actually the way they implement it on a psychological level, they're not implementing. Then finally, we move up to the identity and beliefs and values, which I just covered previously. So why diets really fail? Very, very simple in my eyes. There's really two camps. Either, yes, let's look at the physiological one for starters. The physiological one is that you're following the wrong diet. Yes, probably, but there's 1,000 people millions of people and different diets and etc. that can help you there. And obviously at Enterprise Fitness, if you subscribe to this channel, we've got heaps and heaps of great videos that are on this topic where you can get the right advice. But aside to that, the psychology, it's looking at your identity and beliefs and values. Do you feel worthy? And that's a very confronting question for a lot of people who've been struggling with weight loss their whole lives and been struggling with results their whole life. And one of the unique things about Enterprise is that when we get someone who is struggling like that and they're surrounded by champions at Enterprise Fitness and champion trainers, that does something to their psychology. In the words of a friend, Dr. John Demartini, you can't help put your hand into a pot of glue without some of that glue sticking. And that's what it's like training at our studio, is that you're surrounded by excellence constantly and people lifting you up. So that has a great effect. And I know that before I said that environment doesn't necessarily change, but it certainly can influence and encourage you to stick on the course. And also it's going to influence your skill sets, but it can help you question your beliefs and values as to why did you believe it in the first place? You were just given the wrong diet. And often it's just a matter of going through all the failures and the evidence that you have of failures and looking at it, was it really a failure? Probably not. My homework for you is to look at your identity. Write out the person who you want to be. Not the person necessarily that you are now, but some affirmations. And a simple one for me is, I am a healthy person who eats healthy foods that build and nourish my body. I've said that for a very long time, and fundamentally, ultimately today, it's become true because it's the way I've spoken to myself, and I've looked at the world as from an identity frame of I am a healthy person who eats healthy foods that build and nourish my body. That has then flowed on to my beliefs and values and the way I eat and skills and skill sets. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe to Enterprise Fitness Melbourne YouTube channel, and make sure you ring that bell for all future updates of our great videos and great content. Till the next time, guys, make sure you train hard, supplement smart, and eat well.